Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Kelly Healing Project. So, today's episode, I am joined by a guest, Sarah Aviram. So, Sarah Aviram is a keynote speaker, best-selling author, leadership coach, and TEDx speaker whose work is centered around helping people reclaim their agency and create lives aligned with their values, even in times of uncertainty. So, after convincing her CEO to let her work remotely from 12 countries in 12 months, Sarah embarked on a journey that transformed both her personally and professionally. So, what began as a bold career move evolved into a deeper path of self discovery, healing, self advocacy, and learning to trust her own inner compass. So, as a former Fortune 500 HR leader, Sarah has seen firsthand how fear, conditioning, and staying disconnected from ourselves can keep us stuck, and how courage, alignment, and meaningful choices can completely reshape our lives. Her upcoming book, The Scenic Route, Following My Inner Compass Across 12 Countries in 12 Months, explores those experiences and the lessons she's learned along the way. So today we're talking about redefining success, navigating uncertainty, advocating for yourself, and creating a life that truly feels aligned with who you are. So, Sarah, welcome to the Kelly Healing Project. So,
Thank you
thank you
for
so
such
much.
a nice introduction, Kelly.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it.
Thank
Uh,
you.
so, first, I want to get started. I want to ask you, so what inspired you to take the leap and work remotely from 12 countries in 12 months?
Yeah, so this was in 2019. I was working as the head of talent development in an HR function within a tech company in New York.
Okay.
And I was researching trends on the future of work, what we should look out for, how our company could be competitive and getting the best talent, the best people to work for our company. And all the research, even back then, this was pre-COVID, was saying that the future of work is going to be remote, that's where trends are going. More individuals want that freedom and flexibility. More companies are considering that option. And I put together quite the bold pitch to my CEO that
Mhm.
I should be this guinea pig in the world of remote work and work remotely for a year and report back on the opportunities and challenges that remote work would provide for our company. And not just do my job remotely, but kind of do field research and interview remote workers and digital nomads and see what was working for them or not working. And not just from home, but from around the world. And shockingly, he said yes. And in March of 2019, I took off for this 1 year adventure.
Oh, that's awesome. So, out of all the places that you've worked, what was like your favorite, or which place really stuck with you?
Um, it's hard to say, but if I had to pick one, I would say Kyoto, Japan was incredible.
Ooh,
It's just like a beautiful city, amazing architecture. It's super clean and safe. You can ride your bike everywhere. The food is delicious, and I just thought it was such a beautiful place to spend a month.
wow, that's awesome. And I believe I've heard that you also worked from Bali as well. How was that?
I did. That was like I didn't spend a whole month there, but it was a bit of a side trip I took when I was based in Malaysia. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
beautiful there too. Yeah, I mean, it's just
Oh,
nature and the flowers and everything. It's just a beautiful place.
oh, wow. Okay, that's awesome. So you speak a lot about self-advocacy. So why do you think so many people struggle to speak up for what they really want?
It's kind of twofold. I think they struggle to speak up, but oftentimes, like, they don't know exactly what they want. And it's hard to identify it. And that's the first step before you can share it with anyone and advocate for yourself. You've got to really know what you want. And I think what was really eye-opening for me on this 1 year trip is that me, along with so many of the people I met, thought that being able to have the freedom and flexibility to work from anywhere would make us feel super fulfilled and motivated to do our work. And that was certainly the case to a certain extent. But after a few months, when the novelty faded, we were still left with the truth of like, well, I still don't like my job, and doing it from the beach is amazing, and that's makes it more tolerable, but not necessarily more enjoyable. And it's kind of like this band-aid solution for the real problem, which is
Mm.
I don't know if I'm really driven in the way I want to be driven at work. I don't feel motivated. And so that's when I was hearing all that, I kind of took out my HR toolkit of all the things I've created in my career and put the overlay of remote work onto it. Like how do I what do I know about motivation and fulfillment, and how is it different or similar in a remote work environment? So I created a framework that really identifies kind of the six core drivers of our fulfillment. And how do we activate and manage each of those to be more fulfilled? And yes, it's remote for remote workers, but it's really for everyone. And so I'll just quickly name the six. So
Yes.
it's our relationship to our money, identity, routines, growth, impact, and joy. So if we can learn how to leverage and activate each of those to our favor, we can feel more fulfilled at work and perform at our best, regardless of where we're located.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome. Okay. So six core drivers. Okay. Okay, I like that. That's awesome. Was that in your book? Because I know you have the new book coming out, but I believe you this is your second book. Is that correct?
Yes.
Eh, Oh,
So the framework I just shared is from my first book, Remotivation, that came
okay.
out in 2020. And that's more of the frameworks, the action items, things people can do to feel more motivated at work and perform at their best, and was inspired by the year, but isn't necessarily about the year of travel.
Mhm.
And in the last 6 years, I've been doing lots of talks and workshops for companies on the topic of remote work and employee engagement and fulfillment. And as I would introduce some of these concepts, sure enough, at the Q&A at the end of a session, people would say like, "Oh, these are great and super helpful, but like, where did you travel to? And tell us more about the trip and the adventure." And I thought, "Oh, maybe I have a second book in me about that year, but it's more the personal side of
Right.
it. And the travel stories and the people I met and what I learned about them and myself and um, different themes that came up that weren't always necessarily so professional, but personal and human, and all the emotions that come up during times of change and even change that you choose, like doing an adventure like this. So that's what this second book, The Scenic Route, is about. And it's really a book of stories, one from each country, each of the 12 countries I was in,
Mhm.
and really tells, it anchors, each chapter is anchored in one day or one experience and kind of brings it to life in a fun, kind of immersive way.
Wow, okay, that's awesome. So what are small ways that people can start creating a life that feels more aligned to them right now? Like, are there certain ways that people can start building that?
Yeah, I think it goes back to some of those motivators I spoke about, because what motivates you now or drives you now or feels
Right.
aligned now is it maybe it might change in a month or a year or in a few years, because as different time priorities in
Mhm.
our life change, we have different milestones, different things we're focused on. Sometimes money is our number one driver, and there's no judgment around that, because maybe you just had a baby or got married or you want to buy a new home. And for you, the driver is having enough money to make that happen. And for other people, maybe they feel settled in that area, but for them, it's growth. They want to be challenged and learn new skills and have new experiences. And for others, it's impact. They want to, make sure they're
Right.
providing a value that they believe is important, that makes them feel good and at the end of the day. And so I think being honest with yourself about what's currently motivating or driving you and what would you like it to be. So that those may be two different things, might be money is your primary driver, but you'd love if it was impact. So how can you start to find more opportunities to make an impact, to connect with the value you're already providing? Maybe it's getting more input from your clients or your customers, and getting feedback that makes you feel like the services you've provided have been valuable. Maybe that's all you need to feel motivated to
Yeah.
keep going. So I think it's being honest with yourself and asking like,
Mhm.
what do I need right now to feel better? And a good way to start is with those six core drivers and kind of asking yourself questions about each one.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that is awesome. So, um, so how can somebody reconnect with themselves if they feel burnt out or disconnected? Is it as simple as connecting with those drivers as well, that kind of thing? It's like
Yeah,
it,
yeah, it can definitely be that. And I think one of the drivers that I love to talk about the most is joy, because I think we assume like, well, it's a job for a reason. I'm not supposed to enjoy it. But I don't believe that. I really do think like there are so many parts of our work life that can be enjoyable, that can provide
Mhm.
us with energy and creativity and be inspiring. And I, of course, understand we're not going to love 100% of our jobs all the time,
Right.
whatever it might be. But I'm sure people have had those days where they've been super, super busy all day running around and they've ended the day depleted and lacking energy. And then they've had another day where they've also been just as busy, but they feel energized and excited at the end of the day. And I think you have to kind of sit with those two and say, what were the differences in those days? Like both of them, I was crazy busy running around, but one, I felt energized at the end of the day and
Mm.
excited to share with people, my loved ones, my friends, my partner, whatever, what I did. And the other days, I just wanted to crawl into bed and go to sleep. So what was going on of that day that made you feel so energized? Like what were the conditions? Who were you working with? What skills were you using? What was like exciting to you about that day, and how can you replicate those conditions? So I think that's like some good questions to ask yourself to see how you can do work that feels more aligned and exciting to you.
Okay, that's very true. And I guess I relate more to the growth one. Whenever I'm working and maybe there's a new project or somebody leaves and I have to kind of step up and take over what they've done, I really like that growth aspect, and that's really what drives me. It's like the thought of taking on something new and how am I gonna grow from this and what am I gonna learn? And it's almost like I don't know, taking on something new is exciting for
Yeah,
me and it's a motivator for me and it lights me up.
that's
Um,
great. That's great that you know that about yourself.
yeah. So how did your family and friends or coworkers think when you decided to do this, when you decided to work from 12 different countries?
Well, it's funny, when I told people about the idea before I officially started, some people were like, why would your CEO ever let you do that? He's not going to say yes. Like, I don't know. I think people thought it just seemed like a fantasy that was never going to happen. And my thought process was like, the worst he can say is no,
Right.
like, he's not going to fire me for having this idea. And when I put my sort of business pitch together, I really thought about what was in it for him, what was in it for the company, how could we position this opportunity as something that would put our company in a position to be at the forefront of the future of work and make him look good. So I really thought about what was in it for him. And I think that made
Mm.
all the difference in creating a pitch that resonated. Um, and so, yeah, and in the back of my head, I said, yeah, again, I have nothing to lose here. And I think it was a great lesson in life. And I remember thinking, even if the year ahead, if he says yes, and the year ahead, even if it's not as amazing as I think it would be, which it was, I will feel so proud of myself that I dared to ask for something I wanted and I got a yes.
Right. Oh, wow. Okay. So, did imposter syndrome or the fear of being seen ever come up when giving a TED Talk or giving any speeches? Have you ever experienced that?
I have, it's interesting, when you become the brand and you're the person on the stage and you're not representing a company anymore. I mean, the company is myself. So it is a bit of an odd dynamic when you start. And I did have to just go back to thinking like, how do I come from a place of service? How do I come from
Mm.
a place of providing value? And if even one person in the audience walks away and says, wow, like because of what you said, I did XYZ, and now I feel like I'm making more of an impact. I'm more excited about my job. I'm feeling energized again. Like for
Mm.
me, that's all it takes. Because the truth is, like, not everything I say is going to be for everybody. And I think that takes a lot of uh you know it's humbling to think that way, right? Because you might see someone in the audience who's like, this is not for me. And sometimes that's hard, right? You want everyone to like take what you
Mm.
say and feel like, it's really helpful. But again, like if a small percentage even make a positive change in their lives, then I've done my job.
Right. Yes. So, how did travel and stepping into the unknown change you emotionally or spiritually?
What I think travel is like this incredible concentrated period of change. It's like so much is different. Your normal routines are different. The food you're eating,
Hmm.
maybe the languages you're hearing around you, the type of people you're meeting, and you don't have to go to exotic foreign lands to get that experience of change, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's a new neighborhood in your city and you're kind of out of your comfort zone and you have to manage through uncertainty and become more adaptable. And I think getting out of your day-to-day environment really shows you so much about how other people live and operate and what might work for them. And then it gives you the opportunity to think like, what would I do differently in my day-to-day life? Or what makes sense about it? Or what reiterates that the way I'm doing it is working well for me, And so there's
Mm.
so many different ways that I think travel can teach us um, about our own ability to adapt. And that's a lot of what I talk about in my keynotes. My topic is about managing through change and helping individuals do that, and using stories of travel to sort of make my points or bring the lessons to life. And I think it's a fun way to really learn about how to better manage change.
Yeah. So did you notice any old patterns, beliefs, or conditioning begin to surface while you were traveling, or why you actually, took on to this mission of 12 countries in 12 months?
I did. And it's funny. I think what was most important for me, because so much was different
Mm.
languages, different time zones. For me, what was important was like, what are the things I want to keep from back home that would keep me grounded each day? Like a meditation practice or journaling
Oh.
every morning or exercise or a run, like something that despite all these changes could keep me grounded. And so I kind of
Mhm.
saw it so much was changing. So I said, okay, what can keep me grounded and feels familiar in a
Mm.
good way? And so for me, I did like meditate every morning and I journaled. And that was for me a great practice, kind of get my thoughts out on paper. And regardless of where I was, just sit in stillness for a bit before, the busyness of the day started.
Right. Yes, that's so important. I do the same thing. I have to ground myself in the morning before things get hectic. Because
Yeah.
life gets hectic and things happen and things don't always go according to plan. And you just kind of have to, just go with it and just say, this is what's happening. You don't let it
Yeah.
derail you. You have to stay grounded in who you are. So that's
Yeah. Exactly.
so very important. So, how has your definition of success changed over the years?
Hmm. Yeah, I think I used to think success meant climbing the corporate ladder and
Mhm.
making sure like my success was visible in a certain way and a new title and a new promotion. And I was very much steeped in the corporate world. So it was really about kind of continuing to go up that ladder. And I think I really realized, like, especially from this trip and meeting people in different places, that there's so many different ways to live a happy, fulfilling life. Um, and it's just like when I mean, I live in New York, right? And so there's a certain hustle and bustle about the city, a certain level of achievement, certain level of salary necessary to actually live in a place like this. So it can become challenging. And then you see the incredible, beautiful lives people are living in different places with far less and how happy and joyful their lives are. And it's really beautiful to see. And so I think like understanding that success is really however you define it. If it's having the flexibility to take your kids to school every day, amazing. If it's being able to go to the gym during your lunch hour, great. If it's having the money you need to live the style of life that you want, that's great. And so I think you get to define that and taking the sort of earlier maybe visions of our life and putting them to the side and saying like what do I actually want now at this point in my life? What really matters to me, not based on expectations of others or earlier versions of myself.
Right. Okay. Yeah, definitely. So, what do you think uncertainty is trying to teach us? I know you talked a lot about navigating uncertainty. So, What do you feel uncertainty is trying to teach us? And is there a reason why you think a lot of people are scared of uncertainty or change?
Yeah, change is really hard for a lot of people. Our body, our mind wants to keep us safe and wants to find patterns that we recognize. And that's a good thing in a lot of ways too.
Mm.
Um, we want to like when we know what to expect, we our like nervous system kind of can be more relaxed, right?
Hmm.
Because there aren't a lot of questions and guessing games and things like that. But I think, you know, some of the most formative and transformative parts of our lives happen during times of uncertainty when we're kind of taken out of our day to day and we're, maybe forced to try something we haven't done before. And there's a lot of growth that can come out of that. And it's difficult because there is definitely a fear of failure in new environments,
Mm.
or there's emotional connection to the past and the way things were. And you feel like by changing, you're giving up some version of yourself. And even if you're ready to change and excited, there's people around you that don't want you to change. And not because they don't love you, it's because they love you. They're like, I don't want you to
Mm.
be different. I like you as you are. And that can be challenging too, because though they might not be consciously trying to, people can hold you back from evolving into a version of yourself that you do want to become. So it's really important to remember who you're doing it all for.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, that's so true. At least definitely what I've experienced in my life. But yeah, definitely true.
Yeah.
So what are some signs that somebody may be disconnected from themselves or the life that they truly want? Like, are there certain signs that you've noticed with the people that you worked with?
Um, yeah, they say a lot of shoulds. Like I should do this. Like I should go for the promotion. Like I should, and there's a lot of this sort of like the thing they should do or expected to do or once wanted. Um, And sometimes I'll say, okay, every time you say should, I want you to replace it with want. Like, I want the promotion. And how does that sentence sit with you? Because maybe it doesn't sit well. And maybe you're like, oh, I actually don't want it. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Or say, I don't want this thing. How does that sit with you? I don't want the instead of like a should, which is sort of like this hypothetical, theoretical thing. Um, like I should exercise even. Okay, instead of
Right.
like I want to exercise. Okay, why do you want? Because it makes me feel good, because it releases endorphins, because it makes me feel strong, like whatever. And so I think like taking the shoulds out and replacing them with more concrete words and seeing how those words sit
Mm,
and feel um, can reveal a lot about how important that certain action is for you.
right. And I find that a lot of people maybe they don't truly know themselves and know what motivates them. Like you said, the
Mhm.
drivers, the motivation. And I feel like they need to become more connected with themselves and what they truly want. Do they feel like they should want it because it's what's expected of them, or do they actually want to have that thing? So I like the fact that you said want it instead of should.
Right,
So
right,
that's
exactly.
so how can somebody begin rewriting their story when they've been told basically who they should be? So,
Yeah.
how does a person do that?
I think it's really writing it down. Like, forget
Okay.
about the experiences you've had before, the skill level you have now, and whatever you might be interested in exploring. Like creating a new vision for your life at any point in your life. And like let yourself have fun with it. And let yourself not say, well, that would never happen, so I'm not going to write it down. Just write it down. Like this is your fun story to tell. Like write down this like ideal version of your life and you're gonna write it down. You're gonna look at it and be like, oh my God, like that would be nice, but like, what are the chances of that happening? And it's like maybe a lot more plausible than you think, or some version of it that you can work toward, that would feel exciting to you, that would feel like you're making progress toward. I think like we just hold ourselves back so much from dreaming because other people in our lives, like the question you asked before about doing this trip, where other people were like almost say, why would you even ask? He's going to say no. It's like, well, let me just
Mhm.
ask. Like, let's see what happens, you know? It's just like you truly never know. And until you are clear on what you want and you share it with other people, you just don't know how people are going to react. So like, go for it. You have nothing to lose.
Very true, very true. If you're gonna, I mean, might as well dream big, right? I mean,
Yeah,
what's the worst that could happen? Even if it
exactly.
doesn't come true, at least you've tried. And
Hmm.
you've tried to, get something bigger and better and do something with your life because
And you'll be
you
proud of
never
yourself for
know.
that instead of wondering, oh, I wonder what would have happened if I had asked
Right.
for this or gone for that.
Right. So, what would you say to somebody who feels trapped in a version of success that no longer fulfills them?
Yeah, I would say back to the same, you know, answer, like assessing like what do I want now? What are my priorities now? What really matters to me in this stage of my life? And just being okay with that and like allowing what you want to change. Like it's okay that the version of your life that you thought you'd have when you were 22 and now that you're 40 is different. Like that's okay. And just rewriting the story for yourself.
Right, exactly. So what parts of yourself did you have to let go in order to become who you are today?
I had to let go of the version that was like, yeah, like the corporate leader. Leaving the corporate world 6 years ago as I did and starting my own, thing with doing keynote talks and workshops and coaching and being an author. It's scary because yeah, there's lots of ups and downs and you're kind of starting over in many ways. You don't have the security of a typical job. Um, but it felt like in my bones, like I'm always going to wonder about this. I got to give it a shot. And I think it's great if people have the option of like some sort of stable job or project or career while they can dabble on the side with something new, like have like that side project going is always a great way to kind of see like, does this fit how I want it? Does this feel good to me? Is this exciting? And then, eventually maybe doing it full time.
Right. Is so when you pursued this path, did you go all in? Like, did you immediately just go all in, really, kind of a plan, but nothing concrete, like nothing, not really a lot of income coming in, or did you slowly transition?
Well, it's
Like,
interesting. My plan was to slowly transition.
mm,
And I came back from this 1 year travel journey, March of 2020, and then COVID happened. So suddenly the whole world was in lockdown and working remotely. And I'd just been writing a book that whole year about remote work. And I was like, wow, what are the chances? I thought I was writing a book for a niche but growing population of remote workers, and then the whole world was remote. So I was still
mm,
working for my company, go back to the office for 1 week in March from my trip. I just gotten back. And they said, okay, everyone work from home remotely indefinitely. And it was just kind of wild timing. And 2 months later, they did a big round of layoffs. I ended up getting laid off. And I said, wow, well, I just finished writing, like I have a body of work and research the world needs. I've always thought about doing my own thing. I don't know if I would have done it this moment, but this is maybe like the universe pushing me to do something now. And so that's how it happened for me. It was unexpected, but also the push I needed to do the thing I'd always wondered about doing.
wow, yeah, I guess sometimes we do need a little push, just a
Yeah,
little bit.
exactly.
So where can people find you? Do you offer coaching
I
sessions
do. I
as
offer
well?
coaching. People can go to saraaviram.com and maybe we can link to that. And then the book, The Scenic Route, is available for pre-order now and it's available in August 18th. So we're talking a little before that. But if you go to the scenicroutebook.com, you can pre-order the book. There's lots of bonuses for pre-ordering, book club discussion guides, an interview between me and my editor talking about like creating the book and how it came together. So for people that are curious about the creative process. So yeah, I encourage people to check that out at the scenicroutebook.com.
Okay, okay, perfect. Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be on my
Thank you,
podcast.
Kelly. I
Thank you.
appreciate your time and your great questions.
All right, thank you so much. Well, until next time, guys, thank you for tuning in to the Kelly Healing Project. Take care. Bye bye.